What's going on, my fellow kinolords? So today I'm going to be reviewing a film called Thunderbolts, which is the latest Marvel movie that's directed by Jake Schreier and stars the wonderful Florence Pugh. So let me just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that, at least for those who have followed my channel for a while, knows that I am like the world's biggest Marvel hater. I think the last Marvel movie that I saw that wasn't a Deadpool movie was Infinity War. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. Especially after even Marvel fans were just getting sick of Marvel movies. And I was like, you know what? I am not gonna support or waste my time with any more Marvel shit. It's just 99% of the time not my cup of tea. I find a lot of it just like emotionally hollow, thematically hollow, and just rinse and repeat the same kind of bullshit. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. Um, but I'm sure you're all wondering, well, why did you see this movie? um, I decided to see this movie for a few reasons. One is a really simple reason: love Florence Pugh, love Florence Pugh because I just think she's an amazing actress. And whenever she's in something, I want to go see it. So that's a simple reason. Second reason, and I feel like the most important reason, was the fact that the marketing campaign for this shit got me, because the trailers that I saw for this movie, they were really pandering to the cinephile crowd like myself. They were like, from the composer of Everything Everywhere All at Once, from the cinematographer of A Ghost Story and The Green Knight, and I was like, they might have something here. And also, from the director of Beef, which I haven't seen, but everybody in my film circle who has seen that show says, hey, this is a really great show. So I'm like, they might actually have something good here. I might actually like this movie. And again, the marketing campaign in general was pandering to people like me, which I think is honestly a genius marketing ploy, because they already have the Marvel fans. They already have that crowd. There's no reason to really pander to them when you're going to get those tickets, when you're going to get those ticket sales anyway. But for people like me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, who are in that cinephile crowd, that kinolords crowd, we're not watching Marvel. We're not really, rushing to the theater to see movies like that. So I think it's a great marketing strategy, and it worked because it got my ass to the seat. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, how did I feel about this movie? This movie was shockingly great. And it's kind of insane that I'm even saying that, because I knew that there was a chance that I would come out of it, enjoying it. But I actually really, really loved this movie. It was surprisingly insightful and had a lot of emotional maturity to it. Like, I felt a lot of emotional depth to this movie. There was two scenes in particular in this movie where I was like, I'm getting teary-eyed, and I'm feeling a lot of sincere emotion dripping from the screen. And of course, a part of that is because I just think Florence Pugh does a great job at conveying emotion. I think she is honestly one of the best in the business when it comes to expressing sadness and just expressing, again, sincere emotions on screen. But I mean, surprisingly, the writing of this movie is really, really effective and quite compelling. And I say surprising because, I mean, the writer of this movie is really, from what I've seen, is directed mostly Marvel blockbuster type shit that really isn't the most substantive and really the most compelling shit. So I was like, this movie has a lot of depth to it. Because essentially, this is Marvel's attempt at exploring depression and exploring loneliness and exploring suicide even. And you would expect you would expect Disney and Marvel Studios at this point to just fumble that completely and not give you anything that felt deep at all, and just something that felt like artificial and hollow. But that actually isn't the case, in my opinion. Um, and we have a new character in this movie, which I don't know. Again, I'm not familiar with any of the Marvel characters, so I think it goes without saying, really, but I'll say it anyway. Obviously, I'm not a fan of Marvel movies, so which means I don't know shit about the comics. Okay, I'm not watching this from the lens of does this movie get things accurate with the representation of the comic characters in the story. I'm not watching like with that lens at all. I'm just an outside cinephile who wants to watch a good movie. So I can't speak on those things. I don't know the names of a lot of these characters. Even now watching it, I don't remember a lot of the names of these characters. But the new character that gets introduced into this movie, Bob, his character is like where like the foundational themes of this movie about depression get explored. And it's also through like Florence Pugh's character and really a lot of other different characters, but those two are kind of like the thematic rock to this movie. But especially Bob, because he is his, well, I guess one of his main unique, what makes his power so unique and what makes his character unique is that he's able to get people to he's basically able to get people to feel incredibly depressed by forcing them to relive their past traumas and past regrets. And on top of that, he's also just a fucking like impenetrable beast. Like he's just like basically a fucking god. But that essentially is what makes him stand out and makes him unique. And it's through him that this film is able to like explore all these things. And again, even in a very like conceptual way, like the third act of this movie gets very in the more like trippy arena where it feels more psychological because we're kind of like in the mind of this seemingly depressed character. And I think the way it explores depression by like picking at these compartments of the mind one after the other and showing like how trauma repeats itself in your head and just like little things like that, it felt like not only like compelling from a visual style standpoint, but even like from a thematic standpoint. I felt like the people that wrote this, the sources that they got, I mean, it feels like, again, it came from a sense of understanding and maturity, and like understanding trauma and depression to, at the very least, a reasonable degree. And again, that's something that kind of shocked me while I was watching, and I was like, damn, like I'm actually I'm feeling like I'm actually feeling emotions, genuine emotions in a Marvel movie, and it has nothing to do with like, oh, my favorite comic book character is dead and I'm crying. That was like the big thing with the Avengers. Oh, Iron Man's dead or whatever, and I'm crying. No, like you feel something more meaningful than that emotionally in this movie. At least I did. And yeah, like just overall really impressive. Like maybe like the first 20 minutes or so, I wasn't like all that blown away. It felt like another Marvel movie. Nothing was really standing out. But, as it progressed, it just kind of got better and better. And the humor all around worked very well. I mean, of course, it's a Marvel movie, so you're going to get a handful of, some maybe like cheesy moments of humor, attempts at humor that don't really work well and kind of fall flat. But, what are you going to do about that? That shit's always going to be there. But for the most part, like, I think the comedy works well. The way that all these characters interacted, you felt the chemistry between them, and the way that they kind of played off each other comedically worked really well. And yeah, and even some of the, like the action stunt choreography was really cool. Like even in the first 5 minutes of the movie, we get this like tracking overhead shot, this like tracking one shot overhead scene of just like this like long fight scene. I mean, it's not the longest shot scene ever. Like it lasts for maybe like 15-20 seconds, but I mean, it was an interesting choice, and I don't remember seeing like some stylistic choices like that, in the Marvel movies that I remember seeing. But one thing I'll say though is that if you're going into this movie expecting like this indie style, at least having some kind of like creative indie style to it, like in any way, I wouldn't really get your hopes up on that. I mean, there's some parts, especially like in that third act, like I was talking about, that kind of feel like, okay, this is actually kind of going for something a little bit more creative. They're kind of like taking leaps here, which is in a very like original kind of way. But for the most part, I think it's not really reflect like the whole like indie marketing campaign to get people in the seats. It's not really reflected in the style of the movie per se, but I think the quality that you expect to see from like an indie art movie is present in this movie. It's just not within the style. I think it's more within the writing and the directing. And then as far as like the score goes, I think the score in the movie is overall pretty good. There's not a lot of moments where the score really sticks out in a very unique way, which I was a little bit underwhelmed by because, again, this movie, the marketing campaign really pulled me in expecting something like that. So in that way, it was kind of eh. But I think in the crucial moments, especially in the third act, there are integral moments where the score accompanies moments in ways that do stand out and are emotionally compelling and are memorable. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like this was actually a fucking great movie. And again, I swear to God, like I'm the biggest Marvel hater I know. But yet I'm not gonna lie to you. Like this movie was actually really good. And I definitely think people in the kinolords crowd like me who don't typically watch movies like these, blockbuster Marvel type movies, I think you should give this movie a shot. And I think that even if you're not in love with it, I think that you will come out at least enjoying it. So yeah, really, really dug it. Surprisingly, made me feel quite emotional in some scenes. So yeah, wow. Definitely enjoyed this movie a lot. So hey, I'm gonna give Thunderbolts a soft 8 out of 10. Never thought I'd see the day, really. Yeah, I think that's really all I gotta say. Really, really liked it. I'm gonna see Friendship tomorrow, which I am so excited for. So expect an early review out for that. But yeah, that's it, guys. If you guys haven't seen my recent review for The Surfer, starring Nick Cage, please watch that. But that's it. Really enjoyed what I had to say about the movie. Please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.